which are required to create the CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so there is no end to learn the DevOps, and then after it is DevSecOps, MLOps, right? So there are so many things, but you know, in this course we have discussed the tools like Git, we have discussed Maven, we have discussed Docker, Kubernetes, right? So these are the fundamental tools which are required whatever you are learning, like if you are learning DevSecOps, whether you are learning, anything which is related to DevOps, like Azure DevOps, AWS DevOps. So without this knowledge, it will be very difficult to understand those concepts. So, so now it's a time that we need to club all these tools in a particular flow. Flow in the sense, if you remember, in the beginning, I have shared one diagram with you, which is the CI/CD pipeline in DevOps. Let me just share that again.
The infinity sign.
Right, right. So infinity sign is basically indicates the CI/CD pipeline. So it is something like this, right? So here now it's the time that we need to club them together, because we have discussed all these one by one, like GitHub we have discussed Maven, we have discussed Docker. Selenium we have not discussed, but Selenium is a test automation tool, which basically here what we will do, we will create a Selenium job, which is a test job. Means we will not integrate Selenium, but Selenium is also, it can be any test automation tool. Now, here developer is pushing the code. It is automatically built, automatically Docker image get created, automatically containerization happens, and automatically testing happens, and then a feedback which goes to the developer. So this concept in the infinite sign, so you see that there is a CI part, which is the continuous integration. So this is continuous integration where DevOps engineer is mainly working with the development or testing team, right? For example, here you see developer, 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 and this is DevOps engineer. And again, this is testing team. So everything is related to the development or testing team. And the DevOps engineer, he's collaborating with the testing or development team in the CI, which is called continuous integration, right? So now how it will work? Now developer, when he decided that I need to make a change into the application and this is final change, he will push it into the main branch. Then it will be automatically built, automatically Docker image get created, automatically containerization happens, automatically testing will happen. And if it breaks anywhere, it will not continue to the next step. And then it will go back to the developer if there is a bug, or if if there is something which is not supposed to happen in that particular cycle. So this is basically CI part. Now, how to create this, how we can club them together? We need a CI/CD pipeline tool. So there are many tools are available, like in GitHub, we are having GitHub Action. In GitLab, we are having GitLab CI/CD pipeline. In Azure, we are having Azure DevOps or Azure pipelines. In AWS, we are having code pipeline, like that, right? So there are many tools are available where you can create a CI/CD pipeline. There is a TeamCity also. So, but Jenkins knowledge is very much required. If you know Jenkins, then it will be very easy for you to understand other tools, right? Like whether it is Azure DevOps, whether it is AWS DevOps, right? So wherever you want to deploy your code, so it will be easy for it will be easy for you to understand that one. So that is why Jenkins comes into the picture. So here I have discussed the CI part, right? Now, what is CD part, which is continuous delivery or continuous deployment? What is continuous delivery? See, in continuous delivery, the portion which is after this portion, this is basically the continuous delivery part. In continuous delivery, DevOps engineer is mainly working with the operation team. And in the operation team, basically what happens, he basically shares the code, which is like Ansible, Terraform, we have discussed, right? So now operation team, they need infrastructure is to be ready, right? As per the implementation plan. So in that case, the infrastructure as a code tool is required. So we have seen in the Ansible that how we can install the software, how we can, perform other tasks like create the user, right? Which are more related to the operation team. And we need this automation. That is why we are using this Ansible tool. After that, the deployment should happen. And that deployment is in the form of container and orchestrated with the help of the Kubernetes. So, this particular portion is called continuous delivery. Now, when you are pushing the code and you want that someone has to approve before that code is pushed into the production, you need someone manual approval. Then it is called continuous delivery. Okay, continuous delivery is a process where manual approval is required to deploy the code into production. If you make this thing automatic, means no manual approval is required on the basis of certain artifacts or certain results, the decision is to be taken. So then it is called continuous deployment. So in continuous delivery, we need a manual manual approval to push the code into the production. Whereas in the continuous deployment, we don't need the manual approval. It should be an automatic process. So this is called CD, continuous delivery or continuous deployment, and entire process is called CI/CD pipeline. Right? If there is a problem in CI, CD will not initiate or trigger, and if everything is fine, and if any part of the this CI/CD pipeline step is broken, then overall CI/CD pipeline get failed. Do you understand this? All right. So here you can see this is the DevOps, or I'll show you some other DevOps related diagram. So here you can see DevOps is integrated everywhere now in networking, in Dynatrace, Azure DevOps, right? So DevOps is everywhere now. So if I show you any of this diagram, let us see this diagram. So in this diagram, so you can see DevOps engineer is here working with operation team and the development team. Here, plan, code, build, test. So this is CI, then release, then deploy. Deploy means the application will be deployed, then operate and monitoring. So this is the infinite symbol which you were talking about in the beginning. So this this is basically continuous process. So that is why it is called continuous deployment, or it is called continuous integration and continuous deployment or delivery. Now, as I mentioned, Jenkins, this is the logo of Jenkins. So Jenkins is the one of the tool which is widely used, and it can be integrated with cloud-based environment like Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, right? So it is widely used and it is open source, right? So if you need the support, then you need to pay. Otherwise, it is an open source tool. Now, if I go to what I will do, so what I have done here actually, I have taken one virtual machine, separate virtual machine, and let me connect to this one default. Right. So I'm connected to this. This is Ubuntu machine, and I'll say sudo su. So now we need to install Jenkins. So Jenkins works on the client server architecture. But in the initial examples, what we will do, we will create a we will create a single machine and we will install Jenkins on top of that. Okay. So first, initially we will do in this way, and later we will later what we will do, we will create one more machine and uh, we will connect to this machine which is acting as a server, Jenkins server, and then we will push it to the we will push it uh, execution to the client machine. Okay, but initially we will take the one machine. Now Jenkins is Java based, so we need to install Java first. So I will say um, this is my apt update. Let me run the apt update command first. Other ways that you means installation steps are one thing. Other ways that you can go to the Docker Hub, and there is a Jenkins official image is also available. So in that case, you need not to install Jenkins on your local machine. You can use as a Docker image. So here you can see that Docker image. Mm, application. Okay. Okay. So there is something which there is a deprecation notice. The image has been deprecated over 2 years in favor of Jenkins. Yes, image and provided maintained by as a part of. So the image found here have not received update over 2 years. Is there any update in the future? So there is a deprecation. We can use this, or we will go. Okay. So what I'll do, I will install from the beginning. Okay, without Docker image. If Docker image, I see that deprecation notice. Leave it as it is. So now what I will do here, I will say apt install open JDK and any version, say 21 and JDK. So I'm installing Java 21. So because Jenkins is Java based, that's why Java version is required. Now, once it get installed, then we will see the Jenkins installation. Jenkins installation on Ubuntu, right? So installing Jenkins. So we will go to its official page. So installing using Docker. Let us see. Okay, we can use Jenkins. What is the image name? Jenkins Docker is the container name. Okay, where is the image? Okay. Oh, this is the image name. Docker didn't. So this is the command which we can use for running as a Docker image. So we can use that one also, but let's go with the normal installation. Okay. So now installing Jenkins. Right? So all right. So here on Linux system. Right? So this is the minimum requirement of the Linux system, and this is recommended. Right? Java 21 or later, we have installed Java 21. Right? Installing Java. We have installed Java. Let us see, Java is installed. So if I say Java -- version, yes, Java 21 is installed. Now, this is the LTS or long-term support. So what it is saying, download this particular binary key first. Let us copy this and run this. Okay. Now, this is the package which I want to add it into my repository. So let me just put it here. And then apt update. Because Jenkins package is added. And after that, install Jenkins. Do you want to install? Yes. It will take a little bit time. Let it install. So Jenkins is installed. Now, Jenkins is running as a service. Okay. So Jenkins is running as a service. So we can check that systemctl status and Jenkins. So it is active and running. Now there is a user get created with the name Jenkins, which is a user for this service. So if I say, if I read that password file, cat/etc and password. And if I grep for Jenkins user, so this user got created. Now I want to give some permission to this user so that it will be, without any restriction, it can perform the task. So I will go to vi sudo. Okay. And what I will do here, I will add this user here. Uh, there it is. So I will say Jenkins, and I will add this. Just 1 second. I think no password is also need to be added. I need to add like this. So I'm giving full, sudo permission, and there should not be any password to be asked. Right. Now Jenkins run on a port number 8080. So what I will do for my virtual machine, I will open a port number. So I'll go to my networking, port forwarding, and I will add a port number 808027. I don't think I'm using that port number. Let me double check. So if I say localhost colon 8080, is it in use? No. Okay. So I will open this port number with my virtual machine port number 8080. Right. Now, so this is running. Then what I will do, I will just go to I will go here. Now you can see Jenkins portal is open. Now what it is saying? Jenkins, to ensure that securely set up by the administrator, there is a administrative password is there. So you can use this password. So I will copy this and I will go to my Jenkins system and I will say cat and this password. Now you can see this is the password. So I'll copy this and I will paste that password here and continue. Right. Now Jenkins is dependent upon its plugin to connect to different tools. For example, you want to connect to GitHub, you want to connect to Maven, you want to connect to maybe Docker, Kubernetes, right? So for all these things, what we need to do, we need the plugins. We can run the shell commands also, but plugins is the best option. Now it is saying, do you want to install those plugins? Some plugins which I suggest, means Jenkins suggest, or you want to select the plugins of your choice. So let's go with the suggested plugin by the Jenkins. So now it is installing these plugins on my Jenkins server. Okay, and these plugins are basically used by the Jenkins itself, okay, to interact with different tools. So here you can see a plugin which is related to GitHub. You can see here, right? GitHub Groovy, and there, if you want to connect with the LDAP, you want to connect with the Git, right? So there are some plugins which is commonly used. So Jenkins suggests that download those plugins at least. Okay, so let these plugins are to be installed. And once these plugins get installed, we can see what are the plugins which get installed. Right? And later, if you think that I need to install or uninstall any plugin, that also we can do. Right. Okay. So now we have seen one initial password by which we are able to log into our Jenkins portal. Now, if you want to use that one, you can skip this step, but it is highly recommended that create your own admin user with your username and the password. Okay, so if you use that one, so the username which is admin, which is by default, and the initial password, so that will be discarded, and you will be having this user as the admin user. So I'm creating a user called anything you can create. I'm creating Raman. Okay, and you can just give the password and confirm password. You can give full name, right, and email address, and save and continue. Okay, close. Now it is saying on your portal is available on this particular URL. Yes, I'm okay. Finish. Start using the Jenkins. Now this is Jenkins dashboard. So here you will see the Jenkins related tasks. Now most of the time we are working on the dashboard only. There is Jenkins file is also available where we can write the script. But again, we come to this portal most of the time. It is not CLI based, it is GUI based. Now, who are using Jenkins? DevOps engineer definitely, because he has to create the flow. So he's creating this CI/CD pipeline for different environments like staging, production, testing. For example, you are creating for the testing uh, environment, right? And your development team and your testing team, they want to uh, test it, right? So it means they need the access. So in that case, that they need the access. You need to create the users for different you know for different departments or teams, right? Those who wants to see, for example, approver. As I mentioned, there is a continuous delivery where a manual approval is required. So in that case, access. I need to give the access to the approver also. So he's also using Jenkins to approve. Okay. So we have certain settings which are related to the Jenkins, right? And those settings are kind of a, for example, you want to add the plugins, you want to remove the plugins, etc. Right? So here you can see, we will come to that. Okay. So here you can see there are few options. You can create a job. You can set up the agent. You can configure a cloud. You can learn about the distributed builds. And here you can see your new items. Here you can see the settings. Here you can see the user's profile detail. So if you want to do, some changes, for example, you have created the user, right? And if you want to you have created the user and you want to sign out, you can sign out from here. Here you can see it is showing, when I clicked on this, it is showing all these details to that user. How many builds? Builds means the CI/CD pipeline, or there are some jobs actually which we create, how many builds we have done, right? And security, experiment, credentials also we will discuss. If I go to the settings, right? So here you can see there are some settings which are related to the Jenkins. Say an example, plugins. So as I mentioned, plugins are, you can say, plugins are the major building blocks for Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. If you want to interact with uh, so say an example, you want to interact with GitHub, you need the plugin, right? If you want to perform some task which is related to some tool, probably the best practice is that use that particular particular plugin. Okay. Now, if I come over here and you can see available plugins. So these are the plugins which are available but you have not installed. Okay. So as an example, if I search for Maven plugin, so you can see Maven integration plugin is there, but I have not installed. If you want to install, just click on this and you can say install. So you can install it on your Jenkins server. Okay. So that we can do. So we can install the plugin. Now, second, if you want to see what are the plugins which are installed, you can go to install plugins. These are the plugins which we have installed when we install the Jenkins. Now, here you can see these are the plugins which are already installed, like we have installed GitHub plugin. So that is also mentioning here. Right. Now, if you want to uninstall, you can just means if any plugins. So there are some dependent plugins, means for example GitHub plugin. So this is giving the complete detail how you can use this GitHub plugin and all that information. And if I go back, install plugin, right, and so these are enabled and this plugin is not enabled. Just 1 second, let me just see this one. So okay, so there is a uninstall option. Earlier it was there. Let me just check that. Report an issue, and so they have just okay. And I think, yeah, so from here, cross, if you click on cross, it will uninstall that plugin. Okay, so here it is not enabled, it's not available, so it cannot be uninstalled. So whatever is disabled, you cannot uninstall it, but wherever you see this cross button is is enabled, so you can uninstall those plugins. Okay, so these are plugins which are automatically get installed, but we will see to add some plugin later, and we will uninstall or install process also we will see. Right, now we will go back to, this is called the manage Jenkins. Now other thing is that um, there is something called nodes. Okay, so when we are talking about the nodes, so nodes means the machines which are available in the Jenkins. For example, if I say I have one master server and one worker node, right? So, so in that case, the master server is one machine and slave machine is the another machine, right? So the master server, slave server, two machines should be here, right? So here, as of now, I have only one machine. But when we will discuss about client server architecture, right, where we want an agent machine, so then you will see that there will be one machine here. We will add one machine, so it will show it here. But as of now, uh, it is basically it is showing only one one machine, which is my master node. Okay. Now, next, if I go back to my managed Jenkins, so we have seen plugins, we have seen. Now, there is something called credential. Right? So, what is credential? Credential means, for example, you want to use some secret information or some user ID or password information or some SSH key information. Then you can come over here and create the credential. So instead of hard coding into your jobs, what you can do, you can utilize this credentials. Okay, again, this we will use whenever we need the confidential information or user ID and password or key information. So then we will add the credentials here. Right. Likewise, there are so many things like security. There are users. If you want to create the user, so far I have only one user. And if I want to create the user, so I can create one more user, username, password, and then we can give the permissions also. Okay. So all these things we will discuss one by one. Let me first go to the Jenkins main dashboard. So first, what I will do, I will create a job. So when you are creating a CI/CD pipeline, it is in the form of jobs, right? So now the the job, right, is for example, one job I'm creating for GitHub, and another job is for say Maven, another job is for Docker, another job for Kubernetes. So first, let us understand basics of jobs. So now here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a job. When you are creating first time the job, you can create it from here or you can click on new item. Both will give the same screen. Now here I will create a job. Now I will create a job called first job something. Okay. Now here you can see these are the project types. What are project types or item types? So these are the one depends upon the plugins which you have installed. For example, I have installed a plugin called Pipeline. So that kind of job I can create. Freestyle project is always there, independent upon the plugins. And like that, there are many other freestyle jobs are means other types of jobs are available. So what we will do, we'll first start with the freestyle project, and I'll click on OK. Right now here, this is my job name. Now these are the settings. Like you can have a build steps. You're having environment triggers, etc. Now description, this is optional, but if you want to give, so for example, if I said this is my first job in Jenkins, okay, so now I will first show you that a build step, okay. Under the build step, I can add multiple things. Again, it depends upon the what kind of plugin you have installed. It could be a Gradle script, if it could be Maven script, okay, but Maven I have not installed. But there is one thing which is execute shell. So if you can install Jenkins on your, you can install Jenkins on your Windows, you can install Jenkins on your Linux, Mac operating system, right? So because our Jenkins is installed on Linux system, I am saying execute shell. So now here I can run the commands, Linux command. For example, if I say echo hello Jenkins, right? So when I run this command, what it will do, it will it will execute this command, which is echo hello world, right? How to build? Now you can see here build now. So when I click on this, so what it will do, it will build, and here you can see the number of builds. So far I have executed one time, so that is why it is showing one build, and this build is created at 2:48 a.m. This is my server time, not my local time, okay. So if I go here and if I say date, so you can see now it is 2:49, right? So I'm using here UTC. We can change this, right? But at this moment, it is using the UTC time. So now 2:48 a.m., right? So this job is executed. I want to see what it has executed. So what you can do, you can just click on this tick mark. It could be successful, it could be failed. If it is failed, then it will be, cross red color. So now if I click on this, so you can see that hello Jenkins, this command got executed, and this is the result of this. And overall status is success, means my job is executed successfully. Fine. Now, can I use variables? Absolutely, we can use. So this is called the console output. Now what I will do, I will go back to my job, and I can click on this configure. Now what I will do, I will just declare a variable, and this is Linux variable, right? Name equals to, I'm saying hello Jenkins, okay? Or I'll say name equals to Jenkins only, and I will say here echo dollar name. So now I will save this and I will build this job. Now there will be build 2. In build 2, if I see the console output, same output, but this time I have used the variable. Now if you want to use a variable for all the jobs, means you want to create a global variable. Now this variable I have created inside my execute shell build step. So it means it is only accessible within my job one. So if I go here, and now if I say echo and dollar name, see, it is not here. I want something which is to be, so the scope of this variable is within the job only. But I want something which is available to everyone. For example, if I go to my Jenkins server here, right, and if I say name equals to Raman, okay, so if I put this, now I have this variable Raman, but again this variable is only available within the shell only, this shell only. If I switch to another shell, so this variable will be go away, because these are the shell variables, right? But there are something called environment variable. If I say environment, and if I say grep and or environment variable, if I run, Right? So you can see there are many environment variables, like you are having shell, you are having log name, you are having user, right? So there are many. So now here what I will do now, I will go back here and configure my job. And here I will say echo and hello, I will say dollar user, okay, user, which is the environment variable. I will save it and let me execute this. So this is executed. Now see, hello Jenkins. Why Jenkins came? Because this service is executed by the Jenkins, right? So if I go back here and if I go to configure, right? Even though if you are thinking that it is because of this, see, I have used different variable now. So it is taking the, so environment variable in the Linux, these are user level or system level, right? So here I wanted to show you that this is running by the environment variable. Now Jenkins is also having some environment variables. So list of available environment variables. So if I click on this, so there are many variables are available, which is very helpful most of the time because, for example, you are connecting to your GitHub repository and you want the branch name. So in that case, the in that case, the finding the branch name as a developer, Jenkins developer, it is a bit difficult. So Jenkins has exposed certain variables which are called the Jenkins environment variable. These are different from the Linux environment. For example, branch name. Let us see something build number. Okay. So it means it will give the build number as the output. Okay. Now, if I say user and in this user, what I'm saying, I'll say executing build number equals to, and I will use that build number. Okay. So I will save this. Now let me execute this. Right. So fourth is executed. Now you can see hello Jenkins executing build number 4 because this is the fourth build. Now if I execute again, it will be having the dynamic value, right? Because build number is changed. Now it is 5. So here you can see now the build number is 5. So this information sometimes very important or very useful when we are creating our CI/CD pipeline. Right. So likewise, there are many other environment variables are available and we will see time to time. For example, you want to extract the job name, right? You want to extract on which node it is executing, right? So these are very useful. For example, I will select the node name, right? If I go to configure on dollar node name, right? And we can also use the job ID or job name. So here, if you see job URL, job name is also available somewhere. Job name. So now I can say user executing build number this of this job on this server. Okay, so now let me save this. Now if I build this, now execution is successful. Now Jenkins executing build number 6 of first job. First job is the name of my job, which is on built on node name. So on built-in is the node name. So I was showing you here, right? This is the nodes. And this is the built-in node. My node name is built-in node here. It does not matter what host name you are having. Here my host name is different. It is not taking the host name. It is taking the name which is configured in the Jenkins. Okay, so like that, you can have your Jenkins built-in environment variables. You can use it. Do you have any question till now? Okay. Now let us talk about, there are some more things which are related to the jobs. So I will go to configure. Now there is something called global variable. Okay. So these environment variable, shell level variable, and now global variable. So here I will go to the settings, and here I will go to the security. Under the security, you can search for the environment variable. So I can search for the environment. It is in security or system settings. Just 1 second. Under system. Now this is the system message. Means on your dashboard, you want to print some message. I will say, this is my own Jenkins dashboard. Okay, I just want to have this. Now let me set up the environment variable. Now global properties, environment variable. So I want to declare a variable, say application or company name, or I'll say coaching center, coaching name. Variable name, it should not have a space. Okay, and I will say KMIT courses. Okay, so I will save this. Now in my first job, what I will do, I will go to my configure, and now I will use that variable, right? So I will say on this job name for dollar and company underscore name. So it will pick up the company name from my environment variable. It will first search whether it is locally declared. If it is not, then it will check in the environment variables. So now you can declare the variable. Now that environment variable is available for all the jobs. Okay, so now you can see here, it is for, I think, let me just go back. I think spelling or something, which is not correct. Sorry, coaching name, not company name. So I'll go to my first job. Now configure. And here what I will do, instead of this, I will say dollar and coaching name. Right? Save it and build it. Now build number 8 will be there. Now you can see KMIT courses, right? So now, for example, if you are in your first job, and if I go to configure, I want that this job is for production. When someone is executing, whether this is for production, whether this is for dev, whether this is for which environment. So you can add the parameter. Project is parameterized. So here there are different types of parameters we can use. Let us see some of them. So for example, I want to take a string parameter. Okay, so name of the string. So you can say executed by, Let me copy this variable and default value, I'll say Raman. Okay. So this is executed by, and if you want to trim the strings, left and right spaces, it will remove. And now I want to use this into my script. So I will say this job name, instead of user, I will use that username which I have taken as a variable. Now I will save this. Now, if I build it, now it is saying build with parameters, right? It means you need to pass the parameter. Now here it is executing by Raman. Or if I say Raman, it will show Raman, but if I say Nikhil, then it is executed by Nikhil. Now it is executed, build number 9. Now if I go here, so you can say echo Nikhil executing build number 9 for the job, which is K for the KMIT courses. Right? Now let me go back to the dashboard again. Let me go to the dashboard. Here you can see there is a weather symbol. So this weather symbol indicates that stability of my job. What is stability of my job? For example, so far my command get executed all the time. So it is saying it is 100% stable. No recent build is failed. Now what I will do, I will make some failure into my job. So I will go to configure and I will just write some wrong statement, say echo 1 date, something like this. Okay, echo 1 is not a command. And if I say build, now see my job is failed. Now if I go back to my dashboard, so you can see the weather is changed. Now it is saying it is 80% failed, right? But if I make the change now, if I go back here, right, and I want to see why it is failed, so you can go to that build console output and you can see failed because echo 1 is not found. So when I'm talking about this, so there is a folder, workspace folder get created. What is workspace? Workspace is something where your job execution happens. So if I go to this particular folder on my local system, right, and if I say ls, so you can see here slash where slash Jenkins slash where slash lib slash Jenkins, right? So here you will see all the Jenkins related stuff. For example, it will have jobs. So job information is there, like under first job. So build, configuration, build number. And there is something called workspace. Workspace is the execution. So if I say workspace, so for each job, once it is built, then its workspace, its output get created. Now here, if I say first job, so it does not return anything. For example, you are connecting to GitHub and you want to download the GitHub files. Then in that case, those files will be stored under this particular directory. Okay, so this is the workspace. Workspace is basically having the artifacts, right, of that job, right? Now, so here I found this is the error, and now I know what is the error, so I will configure it again, and I will rectify the change. So I will remove this line, right, and I will say save. So the next time the job will be executed successfully, and that weather will be changed accordingly. Right? So now, if I say build with parameter, now this time it is successful, right? If I go to my dashboard, so now it is saying 80% because it takes last 5 builds. And if you execute again and again, it will be saved. Now, next column is the job name. And here, from here also, you can go to your workspace, you can build with parameters, configure. So you can jump to that particular option through here also. No? What was the last success? So last success was happened for the build number 11. Last failure, it was build number 10. How much time it took to execute? It took 5 seconds. Now, this one is for the schedule. You don't want to execute it now. You want to execute it later. And that we will discuss. Now, let me again go back to my job. Now, let us see some more options related to the build with parameters. So here, another option is you can add multiple things also, add parameters. I want to add the choice parameter. So in choice parameter means you can say environment, okay, and you want to say production, you want to say dev, you want to say staging, right, and save it. Now, when I build it, okay, we'll do one thing. We will go to our configure and we will write accordingly into our build step. So I will use executed by, okay, I will say here for dollar env user, or so now I will use that environment variable. So now when I'm building, I have the option for which environment I'm building. For example, for staging build. Now it will give the output that for staging, Raman executing this. So similar way, if you are using a username and password is a secret information. So what you can do, you can go to the configure and here you can add one more parameter, which is the password parameter. Now here you can say DB password, for example, some value. And now, for example, you need to pass this parameter. You can utilize this parameter. It's $DB. It will return the actual value, but it is concealed. So if I execute this, right? So now you can see it is concealed. But if you want to change the password, you have the option to change the password. Now, if I go to configure, right, and parameterize like that, there are many options are there. So whatever is suitable, you can use this like credential, Boolean value. At runtime, you want to pass some parameters. So now let me remove these parameters, okay, because I don't need this. So I will just simply say. Now next is the discard old builds. So what I want that my builds should not be n number of builds. I want to discard the builds and I want to keep only limited number of builds. So I want to keep days to keep the builds, maximum builds. So I will say maximum number of builds I want to keep only 5. Okay, I want to keep 5 builds. Okay, and I'll just say now parameter is removed because I have deselected that option. Now if I build it, right, so this is my build. Now you can see, okay, we need to see. So now you can see it is only having last 5 build information. It is not having all the builds. So that because I have mentioned here that discard the old builds on the basis of number of builds. If you want to do it on the number of days, you can use that option. Okay. Now let me remove this. Now execute concurrent builds. Okay. Before that, okay. Let's talk about this option. Execute concurrent builds. See, if I go to my settings, let me save this. If I go to my settings, and here if I go to my system, so here you can see that number of execute. Okay. Okay. So this is not here. All right. It was there earlier where we mentioned that how many concurrent jobs we can execute. Just 1 second. Let me see where is that option now. I think they have removed from this global execution. Okay, let me just go back to my job. And if I go to configure, and if I say execute advance, okay. So now they are having these options: quiet period, number of second, and retry count. Okay. And build when the upstream project is building, custom workspace. Okay. So now I got it. So they have different options now. So if you see here, the computer retention check interval every 60 seconds, quiet period is 5 seconds, and SCM. Okay, so I think they have removed that option for number of execute in this version. Earlier, uh, we were having the option how many concurrent jobs we can execute together. So looks like that option is not there, but I will check, in the next lecture, what is the alternate of this. But let me try one thing here. Here, if I go to my job, and if I say execute concurrent build if necessary, and okay, okay, I need to check that one. Okay, so they have changed this option, and I will show you in the next lecture. All right. Now, next is basically the trigger point, right? So in the trigger, there is something called build periodically. So what is build periodically? You want that your job is to be executed automatically. Okay, it is to be built automatically. For that, you can use this option, which is build periodically. So if I say, so this is a cron tab job format. So if I put 5 asterisk, again, if you know that cron tab something, you can go to crontab.guru. If you put 5 asterisk, it means every 1 minute. Okay, first one is for minute, second for hour, day, month, and weekday. If I want to execute it on every 5 minutes, I will say /5. If I want to execute on every 1 hour, /1. If I want to execute it uh, on every day at 5:10, so it will be executed on 5:10, right? So I'm using here 5 asterisk. So every 1 minute, this job will be automatically get executed, right? So now I will say save. Now we will wait for 1 minute. This job will be executed automatically. So we need to wait for a minute. Yeah, so you can see the build number 14 got executed automatically. So whatever the frequency you are setting in the that periodically fall, so your job will be executed with that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that we are using the plugins, and with that plugin we can connect to the GitHub, right? So consider I have a source code management. I'm taking some dummy project, any dummy project. So I have one repository. So you can take any. I just want to show you GitHub interaction with the code, how it triggers and Maven starts. So that we will see in tomorrow's lecture. We will create a project from scratch. And if I say online training, okay, so we'll take any repository from here. Let me search. This is my repository only. That is old one. So this is one of my repository, right? And here there is a master branch. So what I want to do, and it's a public repository, no username and password. So if I go here, now what I want to do, I want to connect to a source code management, which is my Git. And I want to connect to this particular URL, right? Credential not required because it is a public repository. And which branch you want to connect with the master branch only. And I will say save. Right now, every 1 minute, what it will do, because we have set the periodically, right? So what it will do, see, so far 16 builds are executed. Now 17th one, what it will do in my first job. So if I go here and into my workspace, so as of now it is blank, but now because it is going to connect with the GitHub and download the code, right? So what it will do on 17th build, I will have all the files from my GitHub repository to my workspace. So let's wait for this. And if we just explore what is in our GitHub, some file, Docker file, Jenkins file, this file, that file, right? Docker. So just to make sure that we will be getting same set of files. So, oh, there is a failure. What is the failure? Just 1 second. Git exception, not init, could not init. Okay. Error cloning the origin. Okay, so it is having, it is unable. So what I will do, I will take that, let me try one more thing. I will take this URL and what we will do, we will go back to our first project, configure, and there is one more setting, which is GitHub project. This is the URL. Okay. And this is fine, not required. Save. Let us see. Let me build now. So it is getting failed because git init where workspace timeout error cloning the remote origin first job. Okay, something error in the GitHub plugin looks like. Hmm. Let me check one thing. Do I have Git installed? Git is not here. Let me, okay, maybe that is the reason. Let me install Git. Because it is trying to execute that command and Git is not installed on my machine. Because Git init itself is getting failed. Okay, 1 second, let me get my charger also. Okay, so now let me run that job again. So Git is installed. So now this time it is executed successfully. Oh, that was the Git was the issue. It was not installed. Now, if I check this job now, so you can see all the files get downloaded, right? So now what it will do, because we have set up a scheduling that every 1 minute it will go and download the code, which is not a ideal situation because there is no change in my code. So it will again go to the GitHub, download the code, go to the GitHub. So there is one more option. So I will go here and if I go to my configure, now what I will do, I will remove this in the trigger. I will remove this build periodically. Okay. And now I will select another option which is called poll SCM. Okay. And here I will say go every 1 minute to my GitHub repository. Right? Go to my GitHub repository and if there is a change, then pull the code. Okay. So I will save this. Now, so far you can see my builds are 22, right? And it will not execute another build because there is no change in the code. So now if I come over here, if I open any of this file, maybe cat mvn.yaml file. So you can see there is a code, this one. So I will make the change into this code into my GitHub repository. Okay, so now you can see it is more than 1 minute, but that trigger did not happen because I did not make any change in my code. So I will go to my GitHub repository. I will go to maven.yaml file and I will edit it now. Okay, so I need to log in with that user. Okay. So if I go to maven.yaml file, if I edit this, and I will just make it some change here on system. See, so far, no trigger. 25 means it's almost more than 2 minutes. Now what I'm going to do, I'm coming. So it will not be immediately, but every 1 minute it will go and check there is a code change. Now there is a code change, a new build will be fired. So not immediately, but it is waiting for next cycle. And in the next cycle, if that particular change is found in that particular GitHub repository, then it will trigger. So we'll wait for that. Because I have submitted. Now you can see 23 is getting executed. So now so it is completed. If it is completed, it means I will have the latest code here now. You can see on system. So this is the difference between periodic poll and the SCM poll, right? So far we have discussed the basic stuff, how to use Jenkins, how to install Jenkins, how to create the jobs, what are the build parameters, right? So we will continue this discussion in our next lecture, where we will see a real-time jobs and how we can create the CI/CD pipeline jobs. All right. Do you have any question? All right. So then what we will do, we will just wind up this session here and we will meet tomorrow. Thank you.